Hello and welcome to the Kamla Show, where we bring you interviews and conversations with technologists, entrepreneurs, filmmakers, and other news from in and around the San Francisco Bay Area. And today we are talking jazz. My guest is Bruce Labadie. He's the artistic and festival director of San Jose Jazz, which has been described by the New York Times as greatest jazz melange in Silicon Valley. And the person who puts this melange together is Bruce. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
How do you put this melange together?
One piece at a time.
One piece?
Yeah.
Does
There's about
take
1,000 musicians, 125 groups that come to it. So we start early and finish off late.
3-day festival.
Yes.
Okay. So last year was your 25th anniversary, and we have a video clip of some of the groups that came and played at last year's festival, which was headlined by Bootsy Collins.
Well, no, Friday night. Bootsy Collins.
Night. Okay.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, what was her name? Nicole Henry.
Yep.
And she was there, and then you have the...
I booked Nicole Henry as a quartet. She came with an orchestra.
Yeah, and then the San Jose High School Band.
San Jose Jazz All-Stars, High School Jazz All-Stars.
And then Viente de Agua, which is for your salsa stage. Puerto Rico. And then Noel Jukes, who is a local Bay Area...
Right. He was at the Cafe Stritch last year.
And then I think Donald Harrison from New Orleans.
Yeah, he was there twice. He played at the California Theater, and he also played on a main stage.
Okay, and sometimes these artists play twice.
Yes.
And this is...
Pedrito Martinez, it looks like.
No, that's not Pedrito Martinez. He's, I forget his name. Then you have the San Jose TAIKO. So even though you call it a jazz festival, and this year you have Eddie Palmieri coming in.
Yes, we do.
And it's being headlined by J.C. Brooks, I believe.
J.C. Brooks is playing on Friday night, right before Tower of Power.
And then the next one that we have is Tower of Power. So that is a local Bay Area.
They are, but they have a national reputation.
Okay, so that is the melange that New York Times is talking about.
We have about 20% jazz, and the rest is jazz-related kind of things like salsa, blues, a big band,
soul,
R&B and soul.
Okay, and what else?
We have Next Generation, which is the youth. We have something called Jazz Beyond, which is sort of cutting edge of jazz, New York kind of based or LA based groups. We do New Orleans music, and you know, quite a variety of other things.
And what about Chicago? Because you're paying homage to New Orleans, but what about Chicago?
Well, Chicago's rock. We don't have rock.
Oh, okay. Bruce's phone is ringing.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. So, how did you get started with this jazz festival? How did you survive for 25 years going through some really brutal times, right, so, economically speaking?
So the San Jose Jazz was an organization that was founded about 1988, and by a drummer. His name was Sammy Cohen, and he thought, I want to do a jazz festival, but he didn't really have the wherewithal to do it. So the city was putting on an event called the New World Festival, and they had a lot of components to it, and they asked us, would you like to have a jazz festival as part of that component? Not that they were paying us. So we decided to, we'll go ahead and have a jazz festival in August. And they said you can have...
It's hot.
Yeah, you saw a lot of beer that way. And soda and water. So we thought, well, we'll have our, we'll go ahead and do it. We'll be part of their New World Festival. And they said you could have the convention center for free. So we were going along and thinking we'll do this in the convention center. And then we woke up one day and realized that the convention center may be free, but every chair, no sponsorships, you can participate in the conventions, and we were going to lose a lot of money. So we decided to move it outside and keep it free. And so one of the key components was to have a group of people that would be in front of the main stage, sponsors, VIPs, and they would pay a fee to be part of that. And that's continued through now. So it was free for 18 years, and then we upgraded the artists, and it costs a lot more money over the period of time to produce outdoor events, so we decided to charge admission.
Oh, so prior to this, you didn't have...
It was all free before that.
For 18 years it was free?
Yeah.
Excepting for that enclave that you see in front of the main stage?
Yeah, and now what's happened is we've been able to expand our offerings at some of the smaller stages. Now we have 12 different stages.
So you went from a one-day festival to a 3-day festival?
It was always 2 days, and then we went to 3-day. But we went from 1 stage now to 12.
Why 12?
Well, I don't know. We just want to bring in so much music that we that we we just keep on adding stages. And there is a reason for being for each of those. They have audiences, and we just think there's a value to having a wide variety of things and offering things. In the festival world, you have to distinguish yourself, or else you won't survive. There are some big festivals nearby us, Monterey Jazz, Outside Lands, and so we need to have a certain amount of oomph in order to make it identifiable, and for people to want to travel from around the world, which they do, to come to the San Jose Jazz Summer Fest.
So the 3 months is actually very exciting because the Stanford Jazz Festival starts, which is right now it's taking place. Then the San Francisco Jazz Festival, and then you come.
Yeah,
and then it's Monterey.
Right, but so Stanford and San Francisco are really one-day performances at different venues, spread over a period of time. And Monterey is confined to the fairgrounds, but it is more like us. But we're really an urban street fair where we walk around, outdoor stages, indoor stages. And every stage is about a 3-minute walk from each other, but they are spread out over about a 12-block area in downtown San Jose. So on a normal weekend, you walk around San Jose and it's pretty quiet. But during the Summerfest, it is a lot of activity going on, a lot of enjoyment, a lot of people having fun walking around, and a lot of dancing.
So 12 blocks, that's what you mentioned. So that's the challenge that I have found personally. I would love to go to a lot more of these concerts, but I'm limited because, it's spread over 12 blocks, and I find at the end of the third day, I look at my calendar, I said, oh, I missed that and I missed that. Is that your intention? I mean, you want people to have more than one option?
Exactly. We want you to have more than you can possibly attend, so next year you'll come back. They do have those rickshaws,
Yes.
those that you can take those from different locations or another, but we want to have enough opportunity. Some people don't like to be outside. Some people don't like the big crowds. Other people do. Some people like the air-conditioned spaces, and some people like the more straight-ahead presentations that we have on the indoor venues.
So this year, the festival is from August 7th through 9th.
Correct.
And you have 120 performers.
Yeah.
How did you get to pick somebody like J.C. Brooks? He's very young, whereas the jazz audience, from all the survey and everything that you see, are usually people who are 50 and above.
Well, that's true, and actually our festival is more like 60 and above. We
60?
Yeah, we wanted it. No, I mean it had been, and we wanted to lower, the age because
attract the millennials.
Well, pretty soon your audience is dying off, and then where are you? That's what happened with blues festivals, and a blues crowd is more like, I don't know, 60 to 70-year-olds. So we're looking for acts that may appeal to our younger audience, and J.C. Brooks is definitely one of those. It's very exciting, like a James Brown, but his own music.
How did you land him?
So I go around to conferences, and there's a couple of those where it's like a big trade show, and you have booths, and people are trying to sell you artists.
Oh, really?
All kinds, everything from dance and theater and ballet and.
Oh, there's a trade show for that?
Yeah, and they have showcases as part of that. So you go for a week to a different city and you listen to music. And I saw J.C. Brooks appearing at the Roxy in Los Angeles, and I thought, he sounds pretty good. So we brought him in. We're having him play twice, Friday and Saturday. At the Summerfest.
How many big artists do you have in this year's festival?
Well, it depends, what you mean by big, because...
last year, being 2050, had a lot of big artists.
Yeah.
And the year prior to that, you had Pink Martini.
Yeah, so we generally have 3 or 4 that are, that have a bigger budget. All the rest is good music, but we have some really great artists, like Storm Large. She's the lead singer for Pink Martini. She'll be in the California Theater. We have Bombay Jazz with... Larry Coryell will be in the California Theater. And on the main stage, Pink Martini, Tower of Power. We have a great show with Lettucey and a lady named Terry Lynn Carrington and some other artists on Saturday night. On Sunday, Brian Culberson. That's where Eddie Palmieri will be. But basically,
he's very famous in the salsa world.
Yeah, he is. We have a very strong emphasis on Latin music. And so that's spread out throughout the festival. We have some great artists coming in for free on Friday night, and we have several free stages, but tied in with the Next Generation out on South First Street in downtown San Jose Friday night.
And one of the things that you do at this festival is you focus on local artists. So you mentioned Tower of Power, which is apparently a very well-known Bay Area. It has a huge following. I didn't know about them.
Yeah, well, we also focus on artists that aren't quite as nationally known as they are. Young groups, people that have come up through our jazz programs and then maybe have gone out to New York and are coming back.
Can you name a couple?
Sylvia Cuenca is one of those, and then
she played with the Sheila E. or somebody? Or?
Yeah, okay. And then Taylor Eichstee, although he's not coming this year, is another one that was associated with our program. But we have a stage called the Silicon Valley Stage. A gentleman named Smith Dobson used to be our artistic director back in the early years and passed away, but his family, his kids and his wife are going to be here playing at the Silicon Valley Stage, which will take place in the Fairmont Hotel.
So those are the various hotels. How do you curate for a festival like this? That was the first question I started off, especially when you have, you know, so many different artists and you have to cater to the diversity of the valley, which is very unique in some sense, because even though it's in San Jose, you have people coming all the way from Oakland. I don't know if you have people coming from San Francisco.
Sacramento, Europe.
Okay.
You know, New York.
Yeah. So it's people with different kinds of tastes. What are the challenges of curating for a show like this?
The biggest challenge is budget. Our budget is probably 10% of what Monterey has. So it's a small budget.
How do you get the money? It's because you're a nonprofit.
The money comes from a variety of sources. Some grants, sponsorships, vendor sales, and then alcohol sales at the event. But have you ever spent a weekend working on a jigsaw puzzle? Well, that's what this is just on a bigger scale. So we first identify the stages and types. So the types of music, for instance, blues, you know. So, and then we look at the time frames, you know, when the music's going to start and stop. And then after that, I go after, you know, each individual artist, each individual set, each individual day. And we have certain parameters. We want to make sure we have a very strong act Friday night, very strong act on Sunday night, and then just great music the rest of the time. Over the last couple of years, we've been building much bigger names into 2 indoor stages. One is the California Theater, which is that beautiful $80 million restored building.
Art Deco building.
Yeah, in downtown San Jose. Another place called San Jose Stage that has, you know, it's only about 250 seats, but we're bringing bigger artists that are going to be appearing there.
San Jose Stage is the rep?
No, San Jose Stage is another theater company that's downtown San Jose.
Okay, so you have 12 venues. How did you get started in this business? You graduated with a degree in sociology from Santa Clara University.
I did, yes.
So how did you, I mean, that is a whole different world than what you're doing now. I mean, you have a production company, you're organizing. San Jose Jazz is just one of the shows that you organize. You do other shows.
Correct, I do. Let me see, I don't know, I had natural talent, I think. When I went to college, I dabbled in it a little bit. Then I took some time off and sold flowers for about 8 years.
And one of them was at Stanford, you told me, White Plaza.
Yeah, that's right. But
without paying.
Then I saw a job in the paper. It was Paul Masson Vineyards. They were looking for somebody in the PR department. I got the job based on the experiences I've had putting on events in San Jose. And part of it was they had a place called the Paul Masson Mount Winery they didn't know what to do with.
Which is now known as Mountain Winery.
That's correct.
Yeah, so we have a picture of Mountain Winery coming up, and which is where they have these beautiful concerts.
Yeah, so the first year I was there in 1979, there were 4 shows. And then,
was it like this? Did you have this kind of a building?
The building has been there, but they expanded the way it looks.
Because I
7 or 8 years ago.
Because I've read one of the stories where you mentioned that during your time people could actually rest their foot on the stage.
That's correct. Yeah, it was there was wooden bleachers, and then there was rows of white chairs. It was all general admission, and the first row was so close to the stage, and the stage was only 12 inches high that you could put your feet on the stage. It was that close. It was very intimate. Over a period of time it changed, you know, got different, but it always had that beautiful view. And as I mentioned to you earlier, there was a chateau up there, which was Paul Masson's original home. And during my tenure there, we used to have the artists for dinner. So Benny Goodman, Ray Charles, Ella Fitzgerald.
Benny Goodman came there?
Yeah, Benny Goodman came there.
Oh.
And he was so, well, he brought a bottle of his own wine in a paper bag to dinner.
Oh, paper bag.
Because we were serving Paul Masson wine, so he brought a bottle paper bag.
Oh, okay. And how old was he at this time?
Oh gosh, I don't know. He was in the 70s.
Okay.
You know, 70s.
He's supposed to have been a very tough band leader.
I don't know. I just know that when the there was an old phone system there. It had a lot of lights that showed up. So we I was talking to my production manager about getting some equipment for the show for Benny Goodman. He was in a room upstairs, and we were talking to each other. And all of a sudden, we hear this voice saying, "Who's paying for that?" And it was him. He had picked up the phone and he was listening to our conversation. But the show was good. We had a great pianist with him.
And what about Ella Fitzgerald?
Yeah, she was the sweetest person. She just said, "Can I have a glass of water?" You know, she was so sweet.
She's very polite.
Very polite, and she had diabetes, so she was very slow. And we actually had an RV that we pulled right next to the stage where we could move some chairs. And then she just got out into the stage and played. Yeah, she was terrific. But everybody else.
Did she have that voice? Because this must be in
oh,
her last
she had the
years.
voice. She totally had the voice.
Her voice. She had a very young sounding voice.
Yeah, it was just a voice that was very recognizable. But Stefan Grappelli, George Shearing.
Stefan, so you had some hot jazz?
Yeah, lots of hot jazz. I had the Sensei Symphony. We had a wide variety of
And
things.
what about Ray Charles?
Yeah, Ray Charles was there maybe a dozen times. B.B. King, Chet Atkins, Nashville player.
Who was the dream artist you wanted to meet and you ended up meeting at Mountain Winery?
Geez, I don't know, Lyle Lovett maybe.
Oh,
met him there.
Before or after he married Julia Roberts? Remember they ran away and got married?
It was before and after. Yes, he didn't last very long. But B.B. King was like the sweetest performer that we ever had up there. He'd stop and afterwards would sign every autograph. In fact, I'll give you a small little story about B.B. King. So B.B. King was there for 4 nights this particular year.
And it was all sold out?
Yeah, it was all sold out. 4 nights. Yeah, we sold out about 90% of our shows up there when I was there. So B.B. King was there, and we have protocol about who gets on the guest list. So we send the guest list down to the front gate. Of course, if you've been to the Mount Winery, you know it's a ways down to the front gate.
It is. It's a long, winding road.
Yeah, and so I get a call from the front gate saying this person and that person, this were personalities, movie stars, want to come up. And okay, let them up. And so then after the show, I talked to B.B. King. I said, we're glad to let you have guests, but can you just let us know? He said, I didn't invite any of those people, and if you'd said no, that would have been just fine with me.
Oh.
So that taught me a lesson, and, you can't be too nice.
That even famous people sometimes
get taken advantage of. Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And you worked there for 18 years?
Yes.
Okay, where else did you work while you were working?
Villa Montalvo. I was the performing arts director there for a dozen years.
So you were working both at Mountain Winery and Villa Montalvo?
Well, partly I was working the Mount Winery, then I left, and then I came back with Montalvo. And then we had Montalvo and the winery, and then the winery got taken over by Live Nation, another big company. And so then I just stayed at Montalvo. And then we built some other venues, or we managed some other venues for Montalvo.
So after spending your time organizing and creating concerts for all these big venues, you land up at San Jose Jazz.
Well, actually, we started San Jose Jazz. I was one of the founders, 1990, so I was doing both.
And where did you get the money to host your first concert, or first festival?
Oh, the San Jose Jazz? Well, it was like this. I don't know if anybody's ever worked for a nonprofit that was on the startup phase, where when you have meetings, everybody's fighting with each other and throwing erasers and stuff. That's kind of the way San Jose Jazz started. But it's the way it is with some people that don't have any money. So we wanted to start the jazz festival, but I was the only one with credit cards. So
wait, others didn't have credit cards?
No, I didn't have any credit cards. They're musicians. They were.
Oh, so you were Mr. Money.
Well, I had credit cards, so I had a bunch of credit cards. So I put the $18,000 it took us for. That was just what we needed for cash flow on my credit cards. Luckily, I got paid back the first 2 years, and then we were okay after that.
Okay.
But we got a sponsorship from a beer company, and we got some money from the city a little bit, and then we didn't charge admission, but we had the VIP seating, so we did okay. The first year was good, second year was good, third year we expanded a little bit too much, and we lost about $80,000 third year. But we had a really good.
That was not your money.
Luckily not. We had a good executive director, and he knew how to negotiate, and he had everybody settle for 10 cents on the dollar. So we were able to continue, on for it. But we were really careful not to expand too quickly. So we have measured growth over the next 20 years.
How do you collect audience feedback? How many people attended last year's concert?
About 45,000. Audience feedback. We sent out surveys. to them.
And from them you find out.
Yeah, they're not, it's a smaller sample of several hundred. And then we also have people that walk around and do surveys.
Okay, and what is it that the audience wants when you listen to them? Is J.C. Brooks, for example, something that you're trying to do to tailor to the new audience that you want to attract?
I get emails from some patrons that give me suggestions, and then we talk about it in staff and take suggestions from staff, and then suggestions from other people. But basically, we kind of look at the demographics and then try to get musicians that will come and play for us, and also will appeal to that young demographic. And there are certain other parameters, like we want certain ethnic mix with Latin music. We want a little Mexican if we can, some Asian, and some, just other parameters that we try to fit into the mix.
How did you get Bombay Jazz?
I got a call from George Brooks. George Brooks is in Bombay Jazz. He'd been calling me for a few years. He wanted to come here. I couldn't afford it. So one of the board members stepped up and gave us a contribution that allowed us to be able to afford to have Bombay Jazz at the California Theater.
Okay,
so
and they're playing for the first time?
Yeah, they've never been there before. We did have Zakir Hussain, and George Brooks was part of that.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe it was 10 years ago.
You had Vijay Iyer a couple of years ago.
Yeah, we had him at our Winter Fest.
Okay.
We got a grant to help bring that.
Okay, so so it's a constant challenge for you to get a nice mix of musicians.
Yeah, we really wanted to get something that was we felt that was Mexican, but it was not mariachi, and that was jazz, but it was exciting. And so I had this group approach me called the Villalobos Brothers. They were actually from Mexico City, but live in New York now. And I had a small budget, but they were persistent, and not that they were very good. And so they were able to do some crowdfunding to be able to afford to come here. And so we gave them a small fee and some rooms. And they were just featured on NPR this past weekend. So great, 4 guys with violins plus 3 other players in the band, Villalobos Brothers. And so they're going to be appearing at the San Jose stage. There's a lot of musicians that send us notes and would love to come here. Donald Harrison was one of those. And he was, a lot of times they want to come so badly that they'll make arrangements at other venues in order
to make it.
So that we can afford to bring them.
Okay,
yes.
so you host about 350 events. You book 350 events.
Oh, personally, yes.
Personally, at a personal level.
Yeah.
So you have a very good nose or intuition for music?
I know how to ask questions, and I read a lot.
Tell me, what is the one question that you ask that you know whether the way they answer that whether the musician is a shoe-in or not?
Oh, I don't think there's one question.
Okay, a couple of questions, because that's going to be my final question.
Well, so somebody, for instance, will send me a note on the internet, how about this band or that band themselves? And so I go on to the internet and I listen to them, and I'm just going to try to get a feeling, is that the right kind of music or not? And then I will read a little bit about what people say about them. And usually it takes about 45 seconds before we make up our mind whether we want them or not. There is I can do some homework. You can look up venues and see how well they've done.
Okay.
So that helps a little bit too.
So you're the classic case of when they tell, musicians, if you're sending something, if you don't grab them in the first 30 seconds.
Well, sometimes we'll go back and revisit it. Like I get things now, it's too late. So we'll go revisit it in the spring of next year.
Bruce, it was wonderful to have you in the show and talk about San Jose Jazz. And this year the festival is from August 7th through the 9th. And what is your website? It's
sanjosejazz.org, and everything's on there. You can order tickets online, and they're very inexpensive. Okay. You can order them now for $20 for a day. It's very inexpensive.
Okay. So sanjosejazz.org is their website. August 7th through 9th is the festival. And thank you so much for watching. We'll be back again next week. And in case you missed any of our shows, you can catch them on YouTube.